Jyoti has asked, what is preventing her from complete surrender? Rather, what prevents any disciple from surrendering completely to the teacher? Two things. One, the student does not know herself. Second, the student does not know the teacher. Now, let's look at these two things and see which of them comes first. Initially, the student must begin by looking at herself. That is how any spiritual journey begins. You are in a little bit of pain, some discomfort, something is bugging you. So you say, I want to find a solution. I'm doing all right, I'm educated, I'm well settled. Money, etc. are not a problem. My relationships are calm, peaceful. But still, some gap is there. So the spiritual journey starts with self-knowledge. Self-knowledge, which is basically an experience of discomfort. That's how the spiritual journey begins, right? Something is not okay. So the student looks for a teacher, and the teacher further encourages self-knowledge. The teacher says, find out what is the trouble, find out who is troubled, find out how you live, find out what you think and where that thinking comes from. Look at all these things, be careful, be sharp. And the student follows and the student progresses. And now we come to the more interesting part of the thing. A point comes beyond which the student can no longer proceed in the direction of self-knowledge. A point comes when the student's limits have been reached. A certain saturation has arrived. Now, seeing is difficult to happen. Even if effort is there. Reason being, with the kind of eyes the student has, the maximum that can be seen has been almost seen. So no point trying any further and trying much harder. You won't get too far. The results won't improve by much. I said, now we have come to the interesting part of the story. The interesting part is that the student now has to know herself through the teacher. Her own eyes won't suffice. What does that mean? That to know herself more, the student must now know the teacher more. That would give her rejuvenated eyes. That would tell her that there are things beyond her vision. If the student keeps the teacher as a distant and far off entity, then knowing of the teacher won't happen. And here I am talking of the teacher in form. I am not talking of the unknowable truth. I am talking of the truth as it appears in the form of the teacher to the student. Look at the mind, Jyoti. It abhors insecurity. How will it ever just jump into something totally unknown? How will you surrender your valuables to a stranger? Or would you? How would you surrender anything to a stranger? So you must know. Till a point, self-knowledge helps, and after that you must know the teacher. Self-knowledge will tell you that there is much that needs to be surrendered. Knowing the teacher will tell you that there is someone high enough and ready enough and eligible enough to surrender to. Both are needed. Freedom from disease requires that the patient knows that he is suffering, and the patient also has knowledge of the doctor. If you just know that you are suffering and know nothing about any doctor, would you be cured? Would you be cured? So you must know both of these things, and that's what we began with. You must know that you are suffering, and you must also know the doctor. Before you can have faith, you must at least have belief in the doctor. Are you getting it? Otherwise, how would you even go to the doctor? And both these conditions are necessary. If you know the doctor and do not know that you are suffering, you would go to the doctor and say, "Hi, good day, how are you doing?" If you need something, doctor, you may tell me. How may I help you? That kind of nonsense. And if you just know that you are suffering, but have no belief in the doctor, then you would either not go to the doctor or would not open up to the doctor. Opening up to the doctor, knowing the doctor, in fact enables you to have more self-knowledge, deeper self-knowledge. The doctor will tell you how to look at yourself. That's what we meant when we said your eyes are rejuvenated when you start knowing the teacher. The teacher tells you how to look at yourself and gain more in self-knowledge. Be friends with the mind. The mind will not just surrender. The mind needs certain guarantees. mind really seen that the stuff to be surrendered is useless, then even surrender would not have been needed, Jyoti. Simple dropping would have sufficed. Do you see the difference between these two? If I know that this is totally worthless, then do I need to surrender this? I would just drop it. Drop it. But total dropping, just dropping, simple dropping, spontaneous dropping is the last thing to happen. It is the last thing to happen because we do not in the beginning know that this is totally useless. We get an idea, we get some kind of an inkling that this is not as valuable as I thought it to be. So we want to keep it away. Practically, that is how surrender begins. You have begun to see that the stuff in your life is not as important as you thought it to be. But you still think that it has at least some importance. So you are not able to totally do away with it. You are not able to just drop it. Now if you think that the stuff in your life still has at least some importance, then you need some guarantee. Then the teacher requires to have some credibility. Then you need to have some belief on the teacher. Because the stuff still in your eyes has some value. You cannot just give it away to a stranger. So know the teacher. Know the teacher and convince yourself that the teacher is credible enough. Know the teacher and convince yourself that the teacher can be trusted. Do not just push yourself to trust blindly. Do not think that it is immoral to investigate into the teacher. Because even if you subdue your doubts on the surface, those doubts will keep lingering deep within. And if you still have doubts about the teacher, then you will not be able to surrender. To whom would you give some valuable? To someone you are convinced of. So go ahead and convince yourself, Jyoti. Talk, inquire, investigate. Come close to the teacher. Not merely in a metaphysical way, but in the most worldly and material of ways as well. Check the facts. Ask questions, I said. That would, as we have said, help you doubly in two ways. One, the credibility of the teacher would be established if he is worth it. Secondly, coming close to the teacher would enable you to look at yourself more clearly, more deeply. We talked of rejuvenated eyes. So don't feel shy. Don't say that the teacher is in the unquestionable domain. That is an absolute truth, that the teacher cannot be questioned. But you are not yet living in the absolute, are you? You are living in the relative mind. And if you are living in the relative mind, then you need some guarantees. That is your limited condition. That is your fact. We cannot wish it away. We cannot say, I wish I had absolute love for the teacher. If you do not have absolute love, that's how it is. You cannot force yourself to have absolute love or absolute trust. Or can you? You cannot, and you should not. That would be superstitious. But often, due to moral concerns, we tell ourselves, the teacher has to be blindly trusted. No. The mind is an obstinate question raiser. It loves dissent. You may tell yourself, I must trust the teacher, But some little voice would again squeal. I don't trust. Huh?
Test the wisdom.
Test. Where are the proofs? Where are the facts? What does he do? What does he eat? Whom does he meet? What is the funding? What does he want? What's the mission about? Test, ask, come, probe. No point pretending that one is committed and devoted. Commitment and devotion are not things to be enforced. To the suspicious mind, commitment and devotion come very gradually. And you should not regret it or complain about it. That's how we are. We are always a little suspicious because the ego is still there. And ego and suspicion are the same thing. I know, Jyoti, you are a wonderful lady. It would hurt you a little to hear that the student is suspicious of the teacher. It is like an insult thrown at the student. But you need not feel hurt. You did not deliberately choose to be insecure or suspicious or afraid. It's there in the body. It's there in the air. Just as we don't choose to take birth, similarly, we don't choose to have ego. In many ways, it is just there. So you need not feel small or offended. Just do what you must. I'll repeat what I began my answer with. If you are unable to surrender to the teacher, then you must know yourself, and equally you must also know the teacher. Without that, you will not have the trust that it takes to surrender. Faith is a thing of the beyond. First of all, we must have some basic trust. If even trust is not there, from where will faith come? I must speak a little more on this. Very often we find it disgraceful or disrespectful to inquire. We feel that if we ask questions, then we are being a bad student. Yes. We feel that these are things that a good, obedient student should not do. I advise exactly the opposite. If you do not test the teacher, then you will have no reason to trust the teacher. Because the mind can trust only after the test. The mind is not a natural believer. The mind is rather usually suspicious. Suspicion comes more easily to the mind than surrender. And that is for evolutionary reasons, you see. If you are suspicious, then you will be able to protect yourself from this and that. If you doubt everyone, then that helps you check everyone and therefore single out the one who might cause harm to you. Therefore, suspicion is an evolutionary tactic. It helps the body and the mind survive. Are you getting it? So don't curse yourself if you find yourself suspicious of the teacher. You didn't do it. Evolution did it. Right? And when you find yourself suspicious of the teacher, give yourself all the right and the liberty to inquire and test the teacher. Don't just forcibly push yourself to say, no, no, no. The teacher is everything. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu. Who am I to test or question? Test the teacher and therefore allow him to quash your suspicions. You know what the spicy thing is here? Often you do not test the teacher because you want your doubts to remain. You say, if I test him, then it will be proven beyond doubt that he is innocent. And I don't want that to be proven. I have a stake in continuing to suspect him. It's a poor stake. It's a harmful habit. Ask, probe, inquire. Either it will be proven that the fellow is trustworthy, or it will be proven that you need not go to him. In either case, it's good for you.